We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lakshya coming up in the next 30 minutes. Day 2 of Raisina Dialogue, India's conference on geopolitics and geoeconomics today. U.S. intelligence chief Tulsi Gabbard to deliver keynote address. U.S. President Trump set to hold talks with his Russian counterpart Putin over phone, says many elements of a peace agreement in Ukraine have been agreed. Lebanon and Syria agree on ceasefire after deadly cross-border clashes. EU pledges $6.3 billion for Syria's recovery. U.S. judge questions Trump administration in Venezuela deportation case, while White House confident of winning court battle. And in sports, Swiss Open tournament to begin from today. Indian shuttler PV Sindhu, Lakshya hope to regain top form. And on to the top story. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the three-day Raisina Dialogue 2025 in New Delhi on Monday. New Zealand Prime Minister Christopher Luxon joined the inaugural session as the chief guest and delivered the keynote address. India's premier conference on geopolitics and geoeconomics aims to address the most challenging issues facing the global community. DD India's Jessica Taneja has more.
In the inaugural session of this year's Raisina Dialogue, Prime Minister of New Zealand Christopher Luxon lauded India's progress over the past decade, underscoring its economic growth, poverty eradication and technological advancements.
India that have a significant role to play in the Indo-Pacific region. In an increasingly multipolar world, India's size and geostrategic heft gives you autonomy. For at a time when democracy is in decline with less than half the world's adults electing their leaders, it truly is an inspiration that 650 million Indians turned out to vote last year in the largest election in history. Your national election is a triumph of logistics, but it's also a triumph of legitimacy. We want to live in an Indo-Pacific where countries are free to choose their own path, free from interference. A region where no one country comes to dominate. And it is a sign of the times that I have to stand here defending respect for sovereignty, yet New Zealand's approach is increasingly shaped around that objective.
The annual conference on geopolitics and geoeconomics is bringing together over 3,500 participants from approximately 125 countries, including ministers, former heads of state, industry leaders, and experts from leading think tanks. Over the course of these 3 days, conversations will be held in various formats over 6 thematic pillars: politics interrupted, shifting sands, and rising tides, resolving the green trilemma: who, where, and how, digital planet, agents, agencies, and absences, militant mercantilism, trade, supply chains, and the exchange rate addiction, the tiger's tail, rewriting development with a new plan, and investing in peace, drivers, institutions, and leadership. As the world investigates unprecedented shifts in the global landscape of power and influence, the emergence of new actors is reconfiguring old relationships and creating new ones. The next few days' discussions will interrogate the powers and processes that are central to the evolving global geopolitics of our time. With Jessica Taneja, Amit Mukherjee for DD India.
Well, today on day 2 of the Raisina Dialogue, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will speak on thrones and thorns, defending the integrity of nations. While the visiting U.S. intelligence chief Tulsi Gabbard will also deliver a keynote address. Stay tuned to DD India as we get you both the addresses live starting from 9:10 IST. And early on day one, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met many of his counterparts on the sidelines of the Raisina Dialogue. He ended the day with holding a warm meeting with Bhutanese Foreign Minister D.N. Tangyal. Both the leaders reaffirmed commitment to further unique and long-standing ties. Jaishankar also met Tulsi Gabbard. Two leaders held a useful exchange on contemporary global and regional security challenges. India's External Affairs Minister also held a good meeting with his Ghana counterpart Sam Okudzeto Ablakwa. Two leaders explored opportunities to further development partnership and South-South cooperation. And Kanbol Dambazov is Mongolian ambassador to India, participating in the Raisina Dialogue as one of its participants. Our correspondent Akhilesh Suman talked exclusively with him on how Raisina would be helpful in extending the positive dialogue process amidst the ongoing conflicts.
Raisina Dialogue is being participated by many ambassadors, many statisticians, many academicians. And here with me is Gambo Dambajao, the ambassador of Mongolia to India. Ambassador,
good evening.
How do you feel about this Raisina Dialogue? How do you get it?
Yes, I believe and I trust that Raisina is a very important platform, gives us good opportunity to meet, discuss, to hear others, what they're thinking, listen to them and of course deliver our position. And I'm, as ambassador of Mongolia to India, participate in my fourth Raisina Dialogue. And we bring every year, we bring in our delegation, we bring in our minister states, and this year our state secretaries are participating, and we feel that it gives us a good platform for us to deliver our voice to the world.
Okay, so how do you feel India's effort, how it will contribute in bringing peace to the ongoing conflicts in the world?
Oh yes, we believe that India is doing a very great job. And we hope that the future of the world will, in certain point, will depend on India and its policy, on its, the religion, its the philosophy, one world, one family, one future. So it gives us very good opportunity to hear how the India pursuing it. And personally, I believe that India will continue to play its crucial role for the bringing the world peace in all the region.
Okay. Ambassador, how India-Mongolia relations are going on?
Historically, our two countries have long 1,000 years history. As of today, we consider India as one of the most important third neighbor of Mongolia. And now we enjoy the strategic partnership. And this year, we are commemorating 70 years of establishment of diplomatic relations between Mongolia and India. So it is a very good historic year for us.
Thank you so much, Ambassador, for talking to DD India and DD News. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman launched a dedicated mobile app for the Prime Minister's internship scheme. The app helps applicants get paid internship for the next 12 months. This digital initiative through a mobile app, while making it accessible in all regional languages, ensures that young talent can now have greater opportunity to be part of the nation's workforce. DD India's Anil Thomas has more details on this.
Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman launched a dedicated mobile app for the Prime Minister's internship scheme. The app allows easy registration through Aadhaar face authentication and effortless navigation through a personalized dashboard. The app helps applicants get real-time alerts about internship opportunities.
So today with this mobile app, I think we've opened even more or made it even more accessible for interns, potential interns to come in. Everyone who's in this room and everyone who's otherwise joining us should take a little bit of initiative in this scheme and also bring in more people for the interns, because the country needs their efforts, their service, and similarly industry needs better qualified individuals.
The app seeks to address the challenge of limited computer access by leveraging the widespread use of mobile phones, which offer a user-friendlier alternative for many applicants. The Ministry of Corporate Affairs have taken efforts to make it accessible in all Indian languages. Along with the Prime Minister's internship scheme app launch, a facilitation center dedicated to PMIS will also be established in Kolkata.
उनको इंटर्नशिप में स्टाइपेंड भी मिल रहा है जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटीज भी उनको उन कंपनीज में मिल सकती हैं। जो बच्चा एक्सेल करता है, जो ठीक से काम करता है, ठीक से सीखता है, तो वहां की मैनेजमेंट उसको एब्जॉर्ब भी कर सकती है। और पर्टिकुलरली जो आज ऐप का लॉन्च आदरणीय मंत्री जी ने किया है, इसके बाद ये और इजी हो जाता है।
The Prime Minister's internship scheme, announced in the budget of 24-25, aims to provide 10 million youths with internship opportunities in the top 500 companies in the coming 5 years.
This mobile app reaffirms the government's commitment to skill development and opens a world of opportunity for the youth who are looking for internships. So, download this Prime Minister mobile internship app and explore the world of opportunities. With camera person Vicky, Anil Thomas, DD India, New Delhi.
And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. New Delhi Chief Election Commissioner Gyanesh Kumar to hold a detailed discussion with secretaries from the Union Home Ministry and the Legislative Department. The discussion will focus on linking Aadhaar card with voter ID cards. New Delhi Chief Minister Rekha Gupta engaged with chartered accountants to gather expert insights for the Delhi Budget 2025-26, aiming to make it transparent, balanced and beneficial for all citizens. In a post on X, Gupta stated important discussions were held with chartered accountants regarding the developed Delhi Budget 2025-26. Our goal is to ensure a strong economy, inclusive growth and more opportunities. Admiral Samuel J. Paparo, commander of U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, called on General Anil Chauhan, India's Chief of Defence Staff. Discussions held on strengthening military-to-military cooperation and opportunities to foster collaboration in the Indo-Pacific. Both leaders reaffirmed commitment to addressing emerging security challenges and deepening strategic ties. In a heartwarming gesture of community service during the holy month of Ramadan, volunteers from NGO in Srinagar came together to prepare and distribute iftar meals among the people. The team, consisting mostly of young volunteers, worked diligently to prepare fresh and wholesome iftar meals, which were then distributed to individuals and families in various parts of the city. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. NASA astronaut Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore set to return to Earth after 9 months' stay on ISS. Pentagon threatens unrelenting strikes against Houthis. And thousands celebrate Irish culture in Dublin for annual St. Patrick's Day parade. Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, US President Donald Trump is set to hold talks with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin, with the two expected to discuss territory and control of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Trump said he would speak to Putin on Tuesday morning about ending the Ukraine conflict, with territorial concessions by Kyiv and control of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant likely to feature prominently in the talks. Trump has been trying to win Putin's support for a 30-day ceasefire proposal that Ukraine accepted last week as both sides traded heavy aerial strikes early on Monday and Russia moved closer to ejecting Ukrainian forces from Russian region of Kursk. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told a regular briefing on Monday that Trump and Putin would discuss a power plant on the border of Russia and Ukraine.
There's a power plant that is on the border of Russia and Ukraine that was up for discussion with the Ukrainians, and he will address it in his call with Putin tomorrow.
The nuclear plant.
Well, next in line on meeting Trump would be Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping, who is expecting to visit the United States soon as trade tensions soar between the world's two largest economies over Trump's tariffs. Speaking to reporters while talking about the Chinese leader, he said, and I quote, "He'll be coming in the not-too-distant future," unquote. However, Trump did not give any further details. According to media reports, Washington and Beijing had begun discussions about a possible summit in June in the United States. Since returning to the White House in January, Trump has unleashed tariffs on major trading partners, including China, citing trade imbalances and their failure to stem the flow of deadly fentanyl. He earlier this month raised to 10% blanket tariff he previously imposed on Chinese products to 20%. Well, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer met with visiting Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney on Monday as both leaders looked forward to strengthening ties. The leaders agreed that the UK-Canadian partnership is based on shared history and values, membership of the Commonwealth and a shared king, and they both looked forward to strengthening ties. During the meeting, they also discussed a virtual meeting on Saturday chaired by Starmer to support Ukraine. Earlier, Carney met with Britain's King Charles III at Buckingham Palace. Britain is Carney's second leg of his first overseas trip after France in a bid to deepen relations with Canada's European allies amid US disputes. He was sworn in as Canadian Prime Minister on Friday. Well, Israel's military said it conducted strikes on Hamas targets in the Palestinian enclave as explosions were heard over Gaza City in the early hours of Tuesday. Over 30 people were killed and 150 were wounded in the strikes. Israel stated that the recent strikes on Gaza are a response to Hamas's repeated refusal to release hostages as well as rejection of all ceasefire proposals. The military mentioned that the Home Command has ordered restrictions on civilian activity near the Gaza Strip following airstrikes. Schools will also be closed in areas near the Gaza Strip on Tuesday. Well, Lebanese and Syrian defense officials have reached an agreement for a ceasefire to halt 2 days of clashes along the border. The Lebanese and Syrian defense ministries said in statements on Monday that 3 soldiers in Syria's new army and 7 Lebanese were killed in border clashes during the past 2 days. On the Lebanese side, 52 people were wounded, the health ministry said. The Lebanese and Syrian defense ministers also agreed on continuing contacts between the army intelligence directorates to prevent more deterioration on the border. Meanwhile, Lebanon's Foreign Affairs Minister Youssef Raji met his Syrian counterpart Assad al-Shibani in Brussels to discuss the cross-border developments and agreed to maintain contacts. Late on Sunday, Syria's defense ministry accused Hezbollah of crossing into Syrian territory and kidnapping and killing the 3 members of Syria's new army. Well, Hezbollah denied any involvement. Meanwhile, the European Union led the way as donors on Monday pledged €5.8 billion in aid for Syria at a conference in Brussels. However, donation was down on the $7.5 billion promised overall at the conference last year. EU Commissioner for the Mediterranean Dubravka Suica said that this money should be used for early recovery for the benefit of all Syrian citizens. The conference, 9th Brussels conference, standing with Syria, meeting with needs for a successful transition, aimed at mobilizing international support for an inclusive, peaceful transition and generate pledges for humanitarian and non-humanitarian assistance.
We just closed the Syrian pledging conference. This was 9th conference in a row. It was very successful. We pledged a lot of money. Better to say it is €5.8 billion, out of which there is 4.2 in grants and only 1.6 in loans. I think this is good for the recovery, for the early recovery of Syria. And I also hope that Syrian authorities, who were represented by their Minister of Foreign Affairs, can be satisfied, and this money could and should be used for their early recovery and for the benefit of all Syrian citizens.
Well, Pentagon said on Monday that there have been dozens of military casualties so far in Yemen. U.S. Defense Department spokesman Sian Parnell says the U.S. military will carry out unrelenting strikes against Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi rebels until achieving its objective. Responding to the Houthi movement's threats to international shipping, the U.S. launched a new wave of airstrikes on Saturday.
The initial wave of strikes hit over 30 targets at multiple locations, degrading a variety of Houthi capabilities. These included terrorist training sites, unmanned aerial vehicle infrastructure, weapons manufacturing capabilities, and weapons storage facilities. It also included a number of command and control centers, including a terrorist compound where we know several senior Houthi unmanned aerial vehicle experts were located. On Sunday, strike operations continued against additional headquarters locations, weapons storage facilities, as well as detection capabilities that have been used to threaten maritime shipping in the past. Today, the operation continues, and it will continue in the coming days until we achieve the President's objectives.
Well, President Donald Trump declared on Monday he'll hold Iran directly responsible for any future attacks by Yemen's Tehran-backed Houthi rebels who have targeted U.S. and other foreign ships in the Red Sea. Trump said that every shot fired by the Houthis will be looked upon from this point forward as being a shot fired from the weapons and leadership of Iran, and Iran will be held responsible and suffer the consequences. A U.S. federal judge on Monday pressed the Trump administration to provide details about hundreds of Venezuelans it deported despite a court order barring it from doing so. It gave the government until Tuesday to explain why officials believed they had complied with his order. The American Civil Liberties Union attorney Lee Gallert said that after a hearing before U.S. District Judge James Boasberg, the group remained convinced that the government had acted unlawfully.
We had serious concerns going into the day that the government violated a federal court order. Today did nothing to dispel it. If anything, it reinforced that our view that the government may very well have violated this order, perhaps even knowingly violated.
Well, President Donald Trump's administration deported more than 200 Venezuelans over the weekend to El Salvador. It said that were members of Treinta Aragua, a Venezuelan gang that had been linked to kidnapping, extortion and contract killings. A pair of U.S. astronauts struck for more than 9 months on the International Space Station will be returned to Earth on Tuesday evening. Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore are to be transported home with another American astronaut and a Russian cosmonaut aboard a SpaceX Crew Dragon craft, which arrived at the ISS early on Sunday. They're poised to undock from the ISS at 5:05 GMT on Tuesday to begin a 17-hour trip back to Earth. The stranded duo have been on the ISS since June after the Boeing Starliner spacecraft they were testing on its maiden crewed voyage suffered propulsion issues and was deemed unfit to fly them back to Earth. Well, NASA astronaut Nick Hague and Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Gorbanov will also return on the Dragon capsule, with the journey to be broadcast live from Monday evening when hatch closure preparations begin. Upon return, the astronauts will undergo extensive recuperation and rehabilitation considering their prolonged stay in space. And two-time Olympic medalist PV Sindhu will spearhead India's challenge at the Swiss Open 2025 badminton tournament commencing on Tuesday. Sindhu will face fellow Indian Malvika Bansod in the opening round. Rakshita Ramraj and Anupama Upadhyay are the other Indian contenders in the women's single category. In men's single draw, Lakshya will lead the Indian contingent, which includes H.S. Pranoy, Kiran George and Priyanshu Rajawat. India has no representation in men's double category. However, at women's double, world number 9 pair Teresa Jolly and Gayatri Gopichand are set to lead the charge. Well, the Bangladesh cricket team is set to tour Pakistan for a white ball series in May, which will include 3 T20 internationals and 3 ODIs. The series will be held after the conclusion of the 10th edition of the Pakistan Super League, scheduled to take place from April 11th to May 18th. Originally, the series was part of the Future Tours program but had to be postponed due to the busy schedules of both teams. Bangladesh had previously toured Pakistan last year for a two-match test series, which they won comprehensively at 2-0. And thousands filled the streets of Dublin for the annual St. Patrick's Day parade, marking the anniversary of St. Patrick's death, the patron saint of Ireland, on Monday. The day has evolved into a celebration of Irish culture. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. Well, we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.